Welcome, students. During last class, we have studied about matter, its types, and we have discussed in detail what are the solids and all those molecules of the solids are packed together. Then we have seen about liquids and about the composition of the liquid. Then we discussed about the gases and the composition of the gases. At the end, we have discussed the fourth state, that is plasma state of the matter. Now, today, what do you think would have be the greater volume and mass? Why? What do you think would have the greater volume and mass? Why? These are the two examples. 1 kg of feather and 1 kg of rock. This is the main question, and this question is basically linked with our today's topic. You have to think till the time which one is having more volume and mass. This one or this one? So let's start to learn about the density. Density, amount of matter per unit volume. This is the definition of the density. So density is the ratio of mass to volume. If the volume stays the same and the mass increases, then the density is increased. If the mass stays the same and the volume increases, then the density decreases. So density is written with D, suppose, and it is equal to mass volume. If you look at this formula, this clearly shows more is the mass. If you keep this volume constant, more is the mass, more will be the density. But if you keep the mass constant, increase the volume, this is the inverse relation with the density. More volume mean more will be the less will be the density. And if you keep this volume constant, you will keep on increasing the mass. What when it happens, you consider the honey. In case of honey, the volume is the same, the mass is more. But if you take the same amount of water, then its volume and the mass is less in the same volume. So that's why density is directly linked to the mass and the volume. But you have to keep one of the factor constant, and you will change the other factor by looking at the change of one factor. You will come to know that what's the relation of density with mass and volume. So here it is. If you look at the density is defined as mass per unit volume. It's a measure of tightly packed and how heavy the molecules are in an object. This shows this is the main purpose of this. If you look at this is the main purpose to know what how highly packed and heavy the molecules are in an object. Density defined it. Density is the amount of matter within a certain volume. Look at the amount of matter. Molecules are very much closer. This is one of the example. If you see, this is one of the example where the molecules are very much closer to one another. And if you see in this type of the matter, the molecules have separation or the gaps between them. Now the density mass per unit volume is the same. If you see the area is same, volume is same. But if you see the number of molecules here, the number of molecules are more, but here the number of molecules are less. So this is the relation of density with the matter. More the mass in the same volume, more will be the density. And less is the mass in the same volume, less will be the density. So this is clear from this figure. What's the relation of mass with the volume? And what's the relation of density with mass and volume? So density is the measure of compactness of a material. How close the molecules of matter are to each other. 1 point. More than heaviness, density includes how much space and objects takes up. All the substances have density, including liquids, solids, and gases. These all have densities. So this is the use. To know which substance is denser or which is lighter, we generally compare the densities of various objects. These densities in case of solids, liquids, and gases plays very important role in the in engineering. In other types of scientific applications, You have to calculate, you must understand what's the density of the objects, and after getting the knowledge about the density, you are able to apply, use in different types of constructions and other scientific researches. So formula for density is this one. I have already written at the start so that make it clear. So it is mass of a substance divided by volume of that substance. If you write down the formula in mathematical form, this is mass, and this one is mass, and this one is volume. If you look at the unit of density from this point, it will be, if it mass is measured in kgs and volume in meter cube or liter, kg per liter or kg per meter cube or so on. So these are the different units for the density to calculate. And after calculation, we write on the unit. SI unit. SI unit of density is kilogram per cubic meter. This is the SI unit of density. Note, as we go up, Earth's atmosphere becomes thinner and density of the air decreases. Why? The molecules have some gravitational force acting on the earth gravitational force on the molecules, which tends to move the molecules down towards the earth. So that's why more you move to the upper side, more or less will be the molecules, because molecules also have some of their masses. So uh, as we move up, earth's atmosphere becomes thinner and its density of the air decreases. So here it is. This is the triangle. To understand, this is the mass and this is the density. If you divide mass with the density, you will be getting volume. If you multiply density with the volume, you will be getting mass. If you divide mass and volume, you will be getting third one. So this is the triangle to understand the relation of these three physical quantities together. Mass, density, mass divided by volume. Volume is basically mass divided by density, and mass is basically density multiplied by volume. This is the most easier type of the technique to understand the relation between these two, DMV triangle. Ways to affect density. How you can affect the density: increase the mass, increase the density; decrease the mass, decrease the density. Which containers have more densities? Let's see the containers. This one here, the molecules are how much? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Here are 4. The size of the volume is the same, but the number of molecules here are less. Here these are more. Which container has more density? Yes, of course, this have B have more density as compared to A, because number of the molecules in the same volume in case of A are very much small, or the less in number. Decrease the mass, decreases the density. This is the second point. Decrease the mass, increase the mass, increase the density. It happens in case of body B. You have increased the mass and you increase the density. So the ways to affect density: change the volume and keep the mass constant. Same. Increase the volume, decreases the density, and decrease the volume, increases the density. So here is the example. If you look at this one, what you have done, you have increased the volume of container A and you have decreased the volume of container B. So you have kept the mass same, but you have increased the volume here. You have increased, basically you have decreased the density. And mathematical formula also proves the same. But if you look at, you have decreased the volume basically, and the mass is same. By decrease of the volume, basically you have increased the density in this volume. So this is the concept of changing volume but keeping the mass constant. So density as a function of temperature. For more substances, as temperature increases, the volume increases, like gases, like liquids as well. And as a result, the density decreases. So liquid layers. If we pour together liquid that do not mix and have different densities, they will form liquid layers. The liquid with the highest density will be on the bottom, and the liquid with the lowest density will be at the top. The object of the substances with more density will sink below objects or substances with less density. Which do you think is more dense, water or oil? Of course, oil. And oil, that's why the oil floats at the surface of the water. If anyone asks you what's the reason that the oil floats at the surface of the water, oil have more density than the water. What's the reason that the wood floats on the surface and the iron sinks? Because iron have more density and the wood has less density. The lesser is the density, more is the possibility of the object to float, to remain at the upper layers. And the more is the density compared to the other, more possibility of that substance is to settle down. Like if you put a nail inside a water glass, it will sink at the bottom. So that's why it's having high density, it moves down. So if you have two or more substances, the more denser substance will be at the bottom, or the lesser will substance will be at the top. Look at the oil. This is the more denser. It's floating at the surface of the water. Look at this example. If you look at, if you find the sequence of the liquid, what will be there? This one is more denser than the other one, and it is less denser than the first one, and it is the less denser than the first two, and this one is the less denser than the first three, and again this one is at the last one stage. The lightest is the substance, up more the possibility of having at the topmost, forming the topmost layer. So this is the concept of sinking or moving or making the layers of any substance. Denser a substance is, more the possibility of that substance to move at the bottom. Very 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 lighter than the other rest, the more and more possibility of that type substance to stay at the top. So with this, today's class ends. I hope you people have enjoyed and you people have understood it. Please keep on revising and keep on asking the questions wherever, whenever you need help, you can ask the questions.